This is continuing coverage in the trial of Alex Murdaugh from True Crime Today.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage. I'm Tony Bruschi. We're up to segment number 4 of our coverage. Let's head to the courtroom.
Dr. Reamer, having specifically, and you can take a seat now, thank you very much. Having specifically addressed the specific criticisms of the defense pathologist, in your expert opinion, having actually done the autopsies in this case, is there any way that could have been a contact wound to the top of the head?
No.
All right. And having addressed the specific concerns of the testimony of the defense pathologist as it relates to Maggie, is your conclusion still that the shot went in the direction as you described before this
Yes,
hearing?
I disagree with his conclusions.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Reamer. Please answer any questions the defense counsel may have.
Dr. Reamer, good to see you again.
Hello.
So, you took pictures, correct?
I took pictures. I wish I took more pictures now, but I took pictures.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I would have. I wish I took even more pictures.
So do we. So, you made notes, which you converted into an autopsy report.
It's a standard operating procedure.
Yeah, no. But so, and that's done so that somebody else can look at your work and see if they agree or disagree with you.
No, the notes are a work product for me while I'm preparing, doing my examination. I don't always, I take notes, I write numbers, but that is really for me so I can incorporate findings into an autopsy report that I'm going to write. And I don't write it the same while I'm at the table. I need to go away. Maybe I'm going to do it the next day, that night. So, but it's not done. People say, oh, can I have a copy of the autopsy diagram? Well, these are not autopsy diagrams that are meant for other people to look at, and sometimes they're not even completely accurate because I mark things on the outside of the body that later on during the course of the autopsy I determine, I'm like, oh, well, that's what that is. And it may not be what I initially wrote down. But by the time the autopsy's over, I've put it all together. And that a diagram or notes do not necessarily reflect everything, that I concluded.
Do you still have your notes in this case?
I imagine they would be in the file, but as I told you, this is my notes are not necessarily the conclusion that I came to.
Did you produce them to the state?
I don't know what I did. I personally, if they were asked for, I'm sure I did.
Did you produce them to us?
No, I don't remember producing them at all. I don't have a request for those notes in my file.
But those notes would be your present sense impression as you're doing the autopsy, correct?
Well, they can have a lot of things written down on them.
But we don't know because we didn't get them, right?
Well, they're not important. What's important is they're my notes. They're for me. They're an aid to the pathologist. So even if I thought something initially, and then while I do the autopsy, by the time I get to the end, it could disagree. I don't necessarily go back and change the diagram. It's my work product. It's for me to aid me in writing my autopsy report. It's not for public view. It's not a statement of my conclusions.
Okay. Did you review those notes before your testimony previously or today?
No.
Okay. So you just go with your report.
Well, I reviewed my report, correct.
Right, but you don't go back and look at your notes.
No.
So let me ask you some basic questions here. You previously testified that the muzzle of the shotgun for this wound here that goes through his neck and out the top of his head was about 3 feet away.
That would be about right.
Okay. Now, you're familiar with this page from, I believe you've described it.
Oh, yes, I've seen it many times.
Okay. And as you see, the gas comes out, right, in the first shot, the top
Yes.
shot. And then actually there's sort of a blowback of gas as as we can see right here, the projectile, which is the pellets, are extruded from the barrel, right? I mean, the gas pushes the pellets out.
Well, there's gas expansion, and that helps propel the pellets, yes. I agree with the book. This was not a contact shotgun wound to the top of the head.
Okay, well, the book doesn't say that. But what the book does say is that as the pellets come out, at some point they begin to, the container opens and the pellets expand or move out in a pattern, a circular pattern. It becomes bigger as the further away you get, correct?
Yes, and that's what we have here.
Okay,
But this is actually demonstrating specifically a contact shotgun wound to head. But we do have splaying outward of the pellets. We can see on the left shoulder, they're fairly clustered together because they're first starting to be released from the wadding. And they did spread out. We have some of them down in the neck, some of them in the brain, and so they are spreading out. I don't see how, yes, it's a respected treatise, but this is specific to a contact shotgun wound to head. This is what this is describing.
Really?
Well, it's fine. It doesn't matter. I can look at my photos. I can look. If you're going to talk about theory, the photos.
Doctor, Your Honor, I would ask you to tell the witness to be responsive. She is going on a diatribe. Excuse me. I'm asking the court to instruct her to answer the question as specifically as she can. She goes off on tangents, and I'm sorry.
All right, Billy, you may continue answering the question.
You remember what the question was?
No, that's your question.
Is this series of shots from the book depicting a contact wound? I think that's what I understand.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So where, if you step down here, show me, please, where the contact is with the body or the head. Here, let me give you this pointer.
Well, the contact would be at the first area.
Right here?
Yes.
Well, what's it contacting?
It's not. It's just a theoretical depiction. It's a theoretical.
Is that what the book
depiction.
says?
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I don't recall the exact. Why don't you read it to me?
Well, why don't you tell me? Is that a contact wound?
I don't know what this is. This is.
That's a shotgun.
That's a shotgun.
That's a shotgun being fired. Those are the pellets coming out.
Object
Those are
counsel
the pellets.
testifying.
Yeah, I think this is a book showing the series of steps after a shotgun is fired. But it has nothing to do with what I found in the body and does not help me determine the direction of the wound.
All right. So,
and I'm not going to describe to you. You can read it in the book. I don't remember how he says all of this.
The book isn't testifying. You are. You've testified that depicts a contact wound. Yes?
I don't know what this is depicting. It could be that this is a contact wound. I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, here's where I'm going. Is that barrel in contact with anything?
It's not in contact with anything. It looks like it's just blowing into the air.
Okay, and you've been. That's fine. And your testimony is that barrel is at least 3 feet away from Paul's shoulder. Is that correct?
It could be, depending on the weapon, it could be, it's not closer than 2 feet because we don't have the sibling. But we do have packing material.
Okay. So, as we see here, these pellets are beginning to separate. Is it your testimony that those pellets had separated when they hit Paul's shoulder at all?
They are starting to separate. We don't have the complete, widening of it. They're still relatively clustered together, but they're not as close as they would be if they were still contained within the widening.
Okay, now, at 2 feet, is there any gas left, or is it all dissipated like this picture shows?
Well, what we have here, if there was more gas, if there was a contact wound to here,
it's not a contact.
I understand. The gas, you're wanting me to say yes or no, and
yes
I can't because I have the knowledge to explain how this relates to examining the body.
Okay,
I don't give theoretical talks I don't start looking up in this book while I'm doing an autopsy. I use my practical reasoning and my experience and knowledge of things.
If there'd been gas in the wound, or when it hit his shoulder or his neck, would you expect to find some physical manifestation of that?
Well, there would have been, a lot more expansion, shoulder expansion. This was fairly contained on the left shoulder.
Your testimony is there would have been little or no gas going to his shoulder, to his neck.
Well, there is always some gas, but it's not the kind of gas that we get in a contact shotgun.
Exactly. So, and you can go ahead and take the stand again for you.
Down, please do not discuss your testimony with anyone. It'll take about 10 minutes.
That wraps up segment number 4 in our continuing coverage of the trial of Alec Murdaugh. There is more to come. I'm Tony Bruschi. Stay with us.